guys ready for my favorite story of the tour? Yeah. Alright, this isn't television, guys. I can see you too. Anyway, my favorite story of the tour is about the last soldier to surrender from World War II. And does anybody know who he was or where he was or when he decided to call it quits? No, nothing? Alright. He was a Japanese soldier. His name was Hiroo Noda, and he was hiding in the jungles of the Philippines when the war ended in 1945. That's where he'd been stationed. So his buddies told him, Hiroo, the war's over. You can come on out of the jungle now. He says, no, I don't believe that. I think that's Allied propaganda. I'm going to stay here in the jungle and keep fighting. So every once in a while he'd find a radio. He would listen and hear an ordinary broadcast, not a word about the war because the war is over. But he says, nope, I don't buy it. I'm fighting. So he's a pretty stubborn guy. The war ended in 1945. Take a wild guess what year he decided to come out of the jungle.
1960.
60? Any other guesses? September of 1974. 29 years later, he emerges from the jungles of the Philippines, the last man to surrender from World War II. And with him he had his uniform, his sword, his rifle in working order. He had a few hand grenades and more than 500 rounds of ammunition. He had shootouts with the police. He had killed 30 civilians in his time in the jungle. But he refused to surrender until the Japanese were able to locate his commanding officer, who by that time was a book salesman in Japan. They flew the man to the Philippines. He went into the jungle and ordered Onoda to lay down his arms. You could say officially ending the war 29 years after it was over. But I think the most interesting part of the story is that he was not only pardoned for his war crimes, he also received full military pay for all 29 years in the jungle. Not so silly now, right? But anyway, he wrote a great book. If you like history books, No Surrender, My 30 Years War. An incredible story. He did fight for 30 years. It just so happens only one of those was actually during World War II. The other 29 were his own little war. So anyway, with that, we're going to walk up this path to the Vietnam Wall. As we walk, we're going to pass a pond. In the center of that pond, there's an island called Signers Island. Most people don't even know this monument exists in Washington. But I know I told you Florida was the most important thing you'll see today. That was a joke. Signers Island really is, so I'll tell you why as we walk.